I think we can all agree it's probably about time I made something that wasn't a horrifying monstrosity. So this week's A Dragon's Hoard D&D is something a little bit cuter because we deserve it. Hello, my name is Jason, and this is A Dragon's Hoard D&D, where I share cool homebrew stuff with you, inspired by myself, my players, the things I have made, other people, space, the universe, the inevitability of the void, all that good stuff. And this week, the monster is actually inspired by Nairobi, who is an incredible content creator. If you're not already following her, I've interviewed her twice. She is exceptionally cool, very, very funny, and she asked me to make a husky dragon. I think she was probably joking when she said it, but I did it because it sounded cool. But what is a husky dragon, I hear you ask? And the answer is pretty obvious. It is very much just a husky with dragon wings, because that sounds adorable. We have to go a little bit deeper, of course, when we're talking about lore for these things. So, in this instance, a husky dragon is one of those rare cases where a wizarding experiment does not go horribly awry and end up in some abominable aberration, and instead ends up in exactly what was being intended, which in this case is a very cute flying little doggo, which is, adorable. For my take on this, or for at least the official lore of the first one, this was born of a wizard who knew that their dog was going to pass soon, and rather than accepting that, they looked towards the immortality or pseudo-immortality of dragons and thought, what if dog? So they took their very old dog, wove in some dragon DNA, and thus the Husky Dragon was born. Husky dragons, much like their real-world counterparts, are fiercely loyal, incredibly fluffy, and not always that smart, but that's not really what they're there for. They have a naturally calming presence, and while will defend their owners viciously when needed, do prefer to avoid violence where possible. And because of this, a lot of good aligned warlocks and wizards tend to look towards these as the ideal companion. Let's go over the stats. This is like the least exciting part for me because they're just numbers, and I like numbers well enough, but meh. This thing has an AC of 14, an initiative bonus of +3, and reasonable hit points of 38. It has a 30-foot walking speed and a 40-foot flying speed, because that seemed like fun. And its highest stats are dexterity and charisma, both of which sit at 16. I've made it wise-ish too at 14, because wisdom is the stat associated with perception, and huskies and dogs in general can smell stuff, which is perception. It also has bonuses to perception, persuasion, and survival, because a dog could ask me to do more or less anything, and I'd be tempted. It also has resistances to both radiant and psychic damage. Because of the good nose, it has blind sight up to 20 feet and a solid passive perception of 14. It's nothing spectacular, but this isn't a big, bad enemy that you're going to be throwing at players. This is really designed as a familiar. In terms of traits, this is where I went to try to make sure that I give this a very definitive feel. The most obvious one is the magic resistance, which is something that most draconic beings have, which gives it advantage against all magical saving throws. There's really no reason for this not to be here. I don't think it's game breaking in the slightest. I think it's a perfectly reasonable thing for a creature like this to have, and it's something that a few other of the extra fine familiars that you can get with the Pact of the Chain Warlock also have. The fun thing, though, is Faithful Companion. This means that the Husky Dragon grants a +1 bonus to all saving throws to any allies within 10 feet of itself. This is a paladin familiar, sort of, kind of. It's fun, and I think it's kind of a nice way of showing off the moral support that having a draconic flying dog would give you, or at least would give me. I think my life would be better with a flying dog, probably messier too, but we push on. It has 2 attack actions, the first of which is just a bite. Well, I say it's a bite. I've listed it as rend because that's what all of the modern dragons have. Nice and simple, +5 to hit, it's 5-foot range, and it's 1d4 +3, which is going to average out at about 5 damage. The fun ability, though, is the Playful Bark. Dragons in general have a Dragon Breath weapon, which recharges on different numbers, and I wanted to reflect the idea of a Dragon Breath with the Husky, but with keeping to this more supportive and less aggressive flavour. Because of this, this is a charisma saving throw effect within a 15-foot cone, and anything that fails the save will become charmed. This is a playful bark. This is not one designed to inflict terror, and while normal dragons frighten things, I thought it would be a fun twist on that for the Husky Dragon to charm them instead, because that's just super cute. How can you use this? Well, like I said, I think this is a really cool addition to the Pact of the Chain Warlock, and I would absolutely let my players use this if they wanted to. I do let my players get away with a lot though, and I'm an overly generous DM because I also like threatening them with a bad time perpetually with the fights that I throw at them. So that is really down to your DM, and as ever, you should ask them if you're unsure. I also think it makes for a fun NPC. Maybe an old wizard has a Husky Dragon that they are worried about looking after once they pass on, and they want to give the Husky Dragon to the players to look after in the meantime, or to find a new master for. It could also be that full Lassie style, the player characters come across a Husky Dragon roaming the wilds or near a wizard's tower, and it guides them back because their master is in need of help. I think you can also probably just give this as a magical companion to a wizard if that's something they'd be interested in doing, if you think it fits the character. It is definitely stronger than most of the standard Find Familiars, but I also think it's not so overpowered as to be broken. Maybe ask them to upcast the Find Familiar in order to get this more serious and more potent ability. You could also have it being controlled by an evil character as a way of showing the character as being evil but maybe redeemable. There's plenty of different options here, and I think that whatever you come up with is likely going to be great. And let's be honest, when you describe this thing as being a husky with dragon wings, there's absolutely no way in heck that the player characters and the players themselves aren't going to be instantly enamored and want one for themselves. With all of that behind us, that is everything you need to know about the Husky Dragon. I'm really proud of this one. This is a change of pace from all the weird body horror stuff that I seem to lean towards for unknown reasons that are probably best not thinking about, so let's not do that. And I'm really happy with how it came out. I think it's playful, I think it's fitting from a flavor standpoint, and I think it's an interesting bit of design that I am happy to see out in the world. If you do end up using this, or if you give this to any of your players, do let me know in the comments. I would love to know more stories about how people are using the homebrew stuff I put out, if they are using the homebrew stuff I put out. And if there's anything that you're like, I wonder what I could do to recreate this thing in D&D. Drop it in the comments. I would adore more inspiration and more ways to interact with you, the wonderful viewers that have been visiting the channel, and to give something back to thank you as a way of keeping things interesting as well. That is it for now, though. In 2 weeks' time, I'll be doing another homebrew video. I haven't actually settled on what I'm doing yet. I'm normally more organised than that, but here we are. And next week will be another rules-style video of some kind too. I've got lots of interviews prepped for the next 7 or 8 weeks, but not so much on the Monday videos. But if you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.